everyone, welcome back if you're already subscribed and seen a few of my videos, and if you are new, welcome in. Please subscribe and like so this way I can push up in that algorithm and more people can see my videos. I am Natasha. I call myself an astrological birth chart counselor, as I take the creative aspect of using the tool of a birth chart and helping you become more aware and analyzing different things about your own personal birth chart in ways that you might not really think deeply about, as well as everyone else has their own personal birth chart as well that is separate from your own, and we all have different challenges and they may look a little bit different than us. And so at the end of the day, you can only change yourself and not other people. They have to want to change on their own, in their own way, and on their own time. And so I enjoy using the birth chart as a tool that is not as direct as it's not comfortable to change. Just put it like that. Today we're going to talk about Scorpio. So Scorpio is the 8th house of the Zodiac. It is a fixed water sign, so super deep. This is like, so fixed water. So fixed water is very powerful, and it can cut. So if you think of fixated water, I like to think of a power washer. If you've ever power washed a driveway, I have. It's actually very meditative. And when you fixate on the driveway, that is like, it looks like so dark and it's like layered with all kinds of crap that, you know, has just plaqued on top of that concrete. Fixed water sign can be so focused and obsessive about one point, and it'll clean it out, and it'll like go down the rabbit hole and go and really clean that sucker out, you know. So they're really good, but they're extremely intense, and it's like, can we not like focus or be obsessed about this one thing? Can we do other things too? Or like, whatever you're fixated on, it's not that bad, you know. Like, what is your definition of bad? Because they fixate on something so much, whether that is like they're wounded or feel bad or some way about it. You know, they're very passionate, and so they'll really dig in there all the way down to the nitty gritty where no one wants to look, because it rules on the body part, the genitals, the reproductive organs, the bowels, the rectum. So everything that has to do with excreting and eliminating the waste, you know. So it sounds like, ew, you know, like, oh, I feel so bad that you are, you know, represented by like the bowels and the rectum, but it's also the sexual organ. So it's the most pleasurable, you know, like, you know, bedtime fun. It's like extremely, it's the most intimate that you can possibly be with another person, is that deep of a connection where you're inside each other, you know. So that is the most intrusive of all. But if it's, you know, with someone you really want and enjoy, then, you know, it's like even better. So it represents the reproductive organ. So you do the deed, and we reproduce, we transform and transmute something from nothing, and you know, the phoenix rises from the ashes. You know, like you create, you die, you excrete, and you come up. So it's kind of this wave of like a lot of Scorpios. If you have a lot of Scorpio in your chart, or strong degrees of Scorpio, you have a ton of planets in the 8th house, even if it's not in the actual sign of Scorpio, you can feel this energy of going through many metaphorical deaths and rebirths where you feel it, like you died, and then you have no choice but to be resilient, and you have to move on and get back up, and then over a period of time it happens again. You know, so reproductive organs, the genitals, bladder, the bowels, rectum, just elimination and transformation, death and rebirth, depth and control. Because if you think of, you know, like bedtime fun, like sometimes you have to have enough control in order to last long enough, so it's more enjoyable, or you have to control your bowel movements, like so you don't just wet your pants or go to the bathroom wherever. So you have to have some form of control, or being able to control your intense emotions so you don't like destroy everything or lash out at people or a person just like randomly, where it was kind of out of line, out of hand, or you know, you're just being so emotional about something because it's a feeling. It's a very deep feeling. Scorpio can also feel like you want to be like enmeshed, you know, like really together and just like intertwined. We want to like be like this, like be one with each other. You're inside, you want to like become one instead of two separate individual people. You want to get that deep. So that is Scorpio. You know, Scorpio also represents like eighth house things, so that you have to think what comes after Libra. So you can check out my other video of Libra, and after Libra, which is typically marriage, compromise, commitments, contracts. After that, when it comes to relationships, because Scorpio is also a relationship house, even though it's not like as predominantly known for that, you now share assets, resources, finances, your in-laws, because now if someone is sick or someone needs help, there tends to be like, now you have to tend as a new family unit to those other members of the family or work together with them. That's why they say you tend to marry your family. So when you choose your partner, think about that also. It represents literal death and rebirth, because you know, we live, or we are born, we live for a period of time, that precious amount of time, whatever you choose to do or not do with it, and then we all die. That's just the human cycle of what we're gonna go through, and you don't know the timing of that. And that's why it's deep emotion, because those things are very, very painful and hard. And Scorpio also represents inheritances, debts, taxes, other people's resources. So, you know, when you combine houses or whatever, now you're getting the benefits, or maybe not, of the other person's assets or whatever they have to provide in the partnership, whatever they already had or what they already built up with or not. You are now taking on that, whether that is a bonus or now that has kind of put you down a little bit, you know, and you can be okay with that. So that is what Scorpio type energy is. It can also be like people who I know have at least planets in this area. They're not actual Scorpios. They're really good at, you know, for their job in some sort of way, they have to find ways to gain other people's donations, resources, grants, scholarships, you know, anything like that, in order to do whatever they are passionate about, or whatever they're wanting to do for themselves, or if they're taking donations and stuff for some kind of greater cause, and now having to, you know, like, hey, pay $10,000 for a table at a big gala, a big corporation. And in exchange, we're going to give you a nice dinner and drinks or whatever. But the majority of that donation is going to go to a cause. And they're also going to go tell the hotel people, like, hey, can you give a discount to my whatever, and you can write it off for tax deductions. But, you know, give me the ballroom C at like a discounted rate, and can you give me a deal on the food, because I know that you're a big hotel, and you get a good deal when you buy bulk in food, and what can you create in your menu in order to give me a benefit, some kind of benefit, so this way I can you know, work with I can provide more for the donation, or they can even think of like, well, I need to get paid too, so I need a cut of that money in order to survive, in order to keep raising funds for my cause or donation. So it's like thinking along those lines, you know, it's like, how can I use other people's resources in order to help others, or how to use other people's resources in order to get something for myself too. You know, it's thinking in that way, whether that is with good intentions or not the best intentions. So if you are one of those, you already know who you are, but that's not literal, because everyone has a choice, of course. Scorpios tend to be like very intense, intrusive, kind of like a detective. So especially the rising sign Scorpios, I've noticed that they kind of just, they know how to somehow insert themselves. So kind of like, oh, you know, like it can be off-putting to people who are, they don't really want that, or it's like too much or too intense. Like, oh, like you just kind of like invited yourself into my space, or you just kind of pressured me. Like you didn't even give me a choice. You just kind of intruded or try to make me do something. So you were friendly. So it can be kind of like, can come off as sneaky. So it depends. Or like, oh, you have a secret objective in order to get something, and like who invited you? Like, do I have a sign around my neck saying that you get that? You know, I'm so confused, you know. So if they want something, they really try and find a way to get in there. So that can happen. Doesn't mean all the time, okay? I'm just trying to describe the energy of this archetype. Scorpio, they can be, so it's also secrets, deep dark secrets. So they can be really, really good with your keeping your intimate secrets secret, and not just blasting them out to other people. Like the real Scorpios, they will just like keep your secret, and it's not really anyone's business, unless there is like a real cause that they have to tell, you know, like something very serious. So, you know, they're good at that. They're very passionate, and they care very, very, very deeply. So all of the fixed signs, I try to put in the video, all the fixed signs have a little bit a challenging time of just letting go. Just let go, you know, like don't grasp on so tight, like lockjaw, you know, or if you're so fixated on your directive, so fixated in your right and the other people are wrong, or your whatever you're advocating for, like it needs to be like 1,000,000%, like we're only advocating for this and we don't care about everyone else, you know. When it's too much or out of balance, out of line, then what used to be something that needed a lot of advocating for or fighting for, you can swing all the way to the other end. And now you've created a new problem that didn't exist, you know, and that was not your intention. You're trying to fight so passionately for like the underdog. And now the underdog has become the new mainstream kind of chaos that they're fighting so hard that now all of these other ones are the new wounded people, subject, whatever, that is now not being heard and not being advocated for any longer. So be careful how much you fixate and focus on whatever it is, because you can go all the way into the red. You're in the green, or maybe it's like non-existent, which is a problem, and now we're going too far instead of like we want in the middle. I'm a Libra rising, Libra South node, so I'm gonna always try and balance everyone out. You know, like I see what you're kind of doing as an energy, you know, and so it's like I'm trying to remind you, kind of let it go, like just like, you know, like pry these little fingers off. You know, it's okay. You're not gonna fall off the cliff, you know. Like the ground is literally 2 inches down, and you're like, no, I'm gonna have a meltdown and blah, blah, you know, like the world is gonna die and we're gonna blah 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 blah. You know, it's like, no, like you don't see the other side of this too. You know, like you're gonna be fine. Like let's get through this. Let's research a little bit, or you know, we're gonna make it. Let's you know, don't worry, you know, I am here, you know, I'm here to hold your hand so you can kind of make it through this tough part that you feel like you're dying. You feel, it's a feeling metaphorically that you're dying inside. It's very intense and heavy, and you don't know what to do with all of that, and it's okay. Like just take it 1 minute at a time. Sometimes like people who have like suicidal thoughts, okay, let's keep in mind, like how do people get to this state? You know, they feel very unheard or whatever, and they're very passionate, whatever it is, you know. And so, or like people who have borderline personality disorder, and there's a tendency that they have a high suicide rate, and it's just like getting through, like it will pass, you know. Just breathe, let it go, and you know, like take it 1 minute at a time. Tell yourself like this cannot be forever. It's not going to be forever. Just let it go, let it go, let it go. You know, like it is impossible for it to be like that bad forever. It can't be like that bad forever. It is impossible. It's just a phase. We will move past it. You know, everybody gets through hardship in some form, in some way. People do it all the time, and they're still walking around breathing, you know, even though their whole world that they built has collapsed. You know, you can come back from it, because that is a Scorpio energy, is that you can come back. Like you will still come back, and you will only actually become more resilient and strong. Like they are one of the strongest signs even though it feels very painful. Like they know that, you know, what hardship and, you know, pain can metaphorically feel like, or actual physically. So that is the energy that is like super deep. It goes from death and rebirth, where we're bringing psychological, it's a psychological house, things that were unhidden, skeletons in the closet, things that we weren't even aware of, and we're like bringing that thing, the things that don't work anymore, that needs to be eliminated, up to the surface, and like making you realize, oh my God, like this is actually why all of these things happen, or whatever. And so now we have come to realize that. That's why I like using the tool of a birth chart. We're bringing that to the surface, even though it's not pretty. We feel like, oh my God, like I made all the wrong choices or whatever. I feel bad or guilty that I was so fixated on these things and I didn't mean to. And now we get to like wash it all away and start anew. We can start again and do it even better, you know, and then, you know, more stuff that we didn't realize will come up, that we were unaware of, or that we're just learning and growing. And so this is a growth sign. Like this is not a sign, even though it's a fixed sign, it's not going to be like a stagnant, we're gonna act like a 18-year-old even when we're 70 years old. You know, like if you see any of the really older guys at the bar, and they're kind of, their reality doesn't really match of what, you know, they should be kind of chasing after, doesn't match, because they haven't, you know, they haven't really grown. They're staying the same, or in same old habits over and over and over again. So that's kind of a example of that, and so you can have some kind of visual. That doesn't mean if you are the older guy at a bar with a bunch of 20-year-olds that, you know, you don't grow and evolve, but it's just to show a visual of that, so people can learn about this energy. So it's also like, you think of other people's resources. Money comes and goes. You know, you can go through waves of like, you're really good, you're really secure, you've got it in the bag, or like the stock market is really good, and sometimes it's bad, or something weird happened, and now you have to like throw a chunk of money on some kind of giant repair that you didn't expect, and now you're down, but the money will somehow come back up. So that is regeneration in the financial terms, because Scorpio is the opposite sign of Taurus. Taurus represents more of your personal finances and your personal things that you have, and your self-worth, self-esteem. And Scorpio is similar yet different. So it is other people's resources, other people's finances, or your own finances that are invested, like in the stock market or in a Roth ROA or any of those kind of things. Or, you know, you maybe believe like, oh, I should buy a Rolex because you're hoping that it will grow in investment, but it's a material thing that you can at least enjoy. Or like a house, like you can start small and live in a small house, and then you sell it, take the equity or whatever, and buy a bigger house, you know, and you build, you close out that house, you start anew, you close out that house, you start anew. You could do whatever. So these are examples of Scorpio. I also think of Scorpio, like if you ever watch Game of Thrones, and I always just think, because there's like a mixture of this character that just makes me think of the Scorpio archetype, whether you're like, I'm not like that or not, you know, it's the Mr. Little Finger, you know. So he's kind of in the secretive, like back in the shadows. He presents himself as pretty nice, or, you know, like, oh, I can work with your investments, or, you know, like I can do a deal with you, and you can come to my brothel, and you're gonna have fun time in the bedroom or whatever, and we're gonna keep the secrets, and I'm gonna get paid through my resources of ladies who are willing to give their bodies and genitals away, because that is how they make a living, and that's their way of being a healer, is giving pleasure to these people who just seek out that kind of thing, where in their society that is frowned upon, or they should be just with their maiden, lady, or queen. They're gonna go do this secret thing behind closed doors, and I have this guy who's gonna keep my secrets, and I'm gonna secretly pay him some gold, and he is also trying to get his own objective and way by playing these power and control games. Scorpio is also about power and control. So it's like they're trying to make big power moves in order to get ahead. You know, so whenever anyone does something like that, be careful with how you do that, because there's always a consequence later on. But that is kind of like an archetype, it's like fantasy, whatever Game of Thrones is. Yeah, it's fantasy. I think of Mr. Little Finger, and his character is kind of like a Scorpio type archetype when it comes to all of the Scorpio type things. But Scorpios are generally like, they're very nice, you know, they love deep, intimate connections, wanted to truly connect with people, and they're very loyal usually, and you know, they only see one person and that's it, like no one else exists, because they're just so devoted and fixated on that person that they're in love with or fixated on. And they can be very jealous, you know. So if you are with a Scorpio and you're trying to play manipulative mind games with them, like be prepared to unravel the wrath that is building up inside them if they don't have that level of emotional control and maturity to just walk away and leave someone who is toxic and trying to play unhealthy mind games with them, or creating a power and control trauma bond with them, as they're so like obsessed and fixated and possibly codependent on someone who is going to do that they'll keep coming back, you know, until they figure out that this needs to just freaking die, you know, because it's not working. We're in the same loop over and over again. And if the other person is not cooperating or wanting to work with them or hear them or whatever, and they have to also look at themselves, the Scorpio, like, what are you doing to, you know, make this bigger, or what are you allowing that makes you feel hurt, but you're just giving it away, you know, and nothing is changing. So that's like the emotional, you know, power and control wheel or cycles that this energy can represent. Even if you're not an actual Scorpio, it is an energy, you know. So anyone, regardless if they're a Scorpio or have their big three in Scorpio, can get raveled up in this Scorpio play, because whenever you even play with the genitals, you know, now you're more intensely intertwined with a person, and it becomes harder to get out, or psychologically, like you somehow are very fixated or obsessed, or you want to go to this person who may be treating you really well or may not be, and you have to ask yourself, why am I, keep running back to someone who treats me like a piece of crap, or doesn't respect me, doesn't respect my boundaries. Why do you allow that? You have to ask yourself that, because it's like that's why it's like fixed signs. You have to learn to let go, and that is hard. That feeling can be so hard, to let go of something that you wanted so bad, or you wanted it to become something that you wanted, because that's control. You wanted someone else to be a certain way. You wanted someone else to change for you, and you don't realize, even though you just want to be loved deeply, so deep, that maybe when you grew up, you had an unemotional parent, or you didn't get the emotional needs that you personally wanted, even though they gave you some, you didn't feel like you needed more. And so now in adult relationships, you're seeking out, like trying to control other people who are emotionally unavailable, or who treat you like crap, and they just kind of got with anyone who would give them so much attention that, like, please, like, I want you to be someone, do certain things, do whatever in order to love me, show me that you love me, and that in a weird way is control. You're trying to control someone else who is obviously not even trying, but you're trying to control the other person, even though it doesn't come off as controlling, or you're forcing someone to do something or telling them what to do. Maybe you are telling them what to do, but it's that energy of like, I wish that this person would do this, and that for me. I wish that this person would do this, and that for me, and they don't do that. And so now I have to do it, and that makes me mad. And Scorpio is ruled by Mars and Pluto. So Mars is that little angry sign that can attack. If you really hurt a Scorpio, they have that little scorpion tail, and they will use it, and it's very sharp, and it stings, and it's like, oh my God. And it can be very like scary and intimidating, and you're like, oh my God, I don't want to mess with you. So that is like Scorpio type archetype things in relationship dynamics, because it is also a relationship sign, super deep and passionate. That doesn't mean that they are crazy or anything like that. It's just they can be, of course, everyone is different, and everyone has their own control, or not at all control, that doesn't make sense, of their emotions, or like they've never been through hard stuff, and people who haven't been through really hard stuff, like smaller things, they feel really intense, or maybe in general things just feel intense. But people who haven't gone through really, really hard life situations, their perception is just going to be different. So always take in consideration that other person's kind of past, and what do they perceive, what is their definition of really hard life, because that will be different. And that will make them more or less sensitive to a certain situation or relationship approach on life. They can get over it faster, or they can let go a little faster, because they've energetically have evolved and come to this point where, that old person, like they've outgrown that old version of themselves, and they're now a stronger, resilient person than what they used to be. So that's change and transformation. So yes, is that all the rambling that I want to do for this video? Because my videos tend to be 30 and this one's 35 already or more, if I don't cut. So yes, so if you like a birth chart reading, check out my website. It's linked down below in the description box. It is www.natashascreativewellness.com. You can go to the menu page and go to schedule or booking schedule. Click on the earliest date and time, as you are not actually meeting with me, and I will try to get that video emailed to you as soon as I can in a private link, so you can refer to it as often as you want. If things kind of resurface and you didn't resonate with it before, and then you really think a little bit deeply on your own personal life and situation and be like, oh, I get what she was trying to say with that, because I can only give so many examples with the plethora of variety that is out there and the 7 to 8 billion people that are in the world. It is impossible for me to just regurgitate your life, and I am not a psychic, you know. So please be realistic. So what you need for a birth chart is your date of birth, your full date of birth, the location that you were born in, city, state, country, and the time you were born, AM, PM, and please give me a really good email and check your spam just in case. I will never reach out to you for a birth chart reading or your money or anything like that. You come to me if it is something that you are guided to do. So yeah, be aware of scammers. Yes, because they're getting more creative out there, especially with technology. So yeah, my name is Natasha, and I will see you next time. Bye. So